All right. YouTube is running. All right, Jeff, I think we're good.
All right, just a second or two more here, and then I promise I'll cut you loose.
You're welcome to stay.
I
I know it's your
appreciate
I know it's
that.
your bed it's your bedtime, isn't it?
He
It
needs his
is my
beauty
bed.
sleep.
I need a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
So just one quick question before I go, just as an extra safety precaution. Do one of you want to be made host over co-host in case a technical glitch happens?
Like, what do you mean a technical
Is-
glitch?
Well,
There,
let's say someone wants to share a file or something's not right.
Oh, I think we should
you-
be able, like, you mean get people to share a screen and stuff?
Yes.
I mean, I don't need it if Heather is the chair, so she
Okay.
can probably be the host, and I know Andrea knows what she's doing with Zoom, so if you make them the hosts, that's fine. I don't.
Perfect. Let's see here. All right, I've handed permission over to you, so
got it.
good luck, Heather.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, feel better, Jeff. Okay, everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
I make a motion to officially call to order tonight's meeting on February 5, 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And I move for approval of the minutes from the January 8, 2025 meeting. And another second.
I'll second.
Okay. I don't
I
see
think
any
you have to
members.
say, I think you have to get have
no.
everyone approve it. Yeah.
Okay. So motion passes
All in
4-0.
favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed,
Got
say
it.
nay. That's what you want to do.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I assume not hearing any nays. Are there any nays? Opposed?
Well, it's a good thing you went through that, right?
Motion, right. Motion passes. I don't know if you count, Dave. I guess 4-0.
I've been it's in there. It rattle making motions is still complicated, and I've been doing it for 5 years, so it's not easy.
I wrote it down and I read what I was reading every single meeting, Heather.
Okay.
So I
couldn't mess it up. I couldn't forget something.
All right. I'll do
I'm
that.
the same way.
I'll
I
do that
asked Jeff
in
for a
future.
script and they laugh. I said, no, I need it. I will not remember how to do it. So
Right. Okay. So minutes are approved, motion passed. I don't see any members of the public, so I assume we don't have any public comment for tonight's meeting. We will start with old business. We will go to the porta potty enclosure and
Heather, Bob's
Yes.
trying to get in. He can't get in.
okay, where does that come up on my,
It should pop right up.
I don't see it.
there should be I haven't seen I just let Mary in. I haven't seen anything for Bob.
I think it might be a Zoom issue, not a you issue, Heather.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I've been seeing all the people come in.
Yeah,
and
I haven't seen a pop-up asking for,
Yeah, I told him to try and log into a Zoom and then try and use the link again. So we'll see if that works.
okay. Love you. Bye. All right. And I would be remiss if I didn't start off our meeting by saying, go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
It's going to be a long couple of days until this game. Okay. Bye. I love you, sweetheart. You gotta go. So back to porta potty enclosure. Dave, since we have you,
Yep.
our supervisor chair, your feedback, the feedback from the Board of Supervisors was that we're not going to try to do anything this year as far as an enclosure.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can add some color to that if you'd like.
Go ahead. Yep.
So, we started it this year as a trial, right? and just say, like, let's put it up there, see what happens. If it works out, great, and people are using it, cool, we'll do it again next year.
Okay.
And then, and I've gotten some feedback from residents that say, love the porta potty access, but maybe not the right location.
Mhm.
So, I think between this year and next year, so when we decommission the porta potty and then recommission it for next year, we'll figure out where we want to put it, and even if an enclosure is required, and if we do an enclosure, what is it going to be? We initially the way that the way the conversation started was we were spitballing ideas about where it could go, and one of the locations was right in front of the healing garden, because it's equidistance between the tennis folks and the pickleball people, and we wanted to find a place where it was flat. And so we said, well, that might be a possible location. And then I've kind of felt bad because I didn't want to put a porta potty in front of the healing garden. So maybe that started maybe we can put it in a nice looking box, and
Right.
then it grew into, well, what would the box look like, et cetera, et cetera. So no plans on doing it this year. We want to make sure that we put it in a place if we decide to do it again next year, which, unless something catastrophic happens, we probably will do it again next year. We just want to make sure that, one, it's in a place that's easily accessible and doesn't, I don't know what the right word is, de-beautify.
Yeah.
Interfere
with the aesthetics.
Yeah, so that was where really the impetus of the idea was, if we put it somewhere, let's maybe try and disguise it so we're not staring at a porta potty when we're trying to relax at a healing garden, or we're doing, if it goes there. There's a lot of options. So,
Okay.
and I think we'll have that conversation
Prior to next
team,
fall.
over the summer. Maybe we can walk around and see where it might make sense, and then there was no solid plan for a porta potty, whether an enclosure, whether it was a design, or so we'll work out the details and find a specific location for next year. And I want this team to be involved. So I assume we'll just all go out there and walk around and talk about it. It's probably the easiest thing to do. Just to kind of take a visual of it. I don't anticipate it taking very long. It's probably a 30-minute exercise. So
I noticed that it's staked down.
Yes. So you stake it down so people can't tip it over.
Yeah, and that's why I know we wanted it in the parking lot, but you couldn't stake it down in the parking lot.
Yeah, you'd have to put it on so that's where we said, well, you would have to back it up against the bushes of the healing garden. And then that's kind of where we started thinking, well, that's not going to look great. How do we want to fix that? So yeah, it has to be staked down so you don't tip it over. We definitely don't want it in the parking lot.
Okay.
So
We will calendar that for.
I want
If
to
you-
give
Go ahead,
some
Paul.
suggestion there, Dave. I do like it in the parking lot in front of the current bathrooms because they're centrally located. They're in front of the cameras. And I like it between the two raised beds because it gives it wind protection and vehicle protection. It's not going to be bumped accidentally. It's a nice little alcove there in front of that bulletin board. That was what I thought was the ideal location. And then
So
we
sitting
in
on
the
the concrete.
Yeah, it's asphalt. Yeah. So if tipping over or blowing over was a problem, then I would agree we could either fasten it to those raised beds or put it in the grass. But as you know, in the Little League,
we're kind of beholden. We're kind of beholden to what also the company needs in order to get in and move it and access
yeah,
it.
I agreed.
So, yeah.
Right where I'm talking is the easiest access for them.
I think that's part of it. The question was whether or not we could stake it in and secure it. So
what I was going to say though is we have 8 porta potties at the Little League, and none of them are staked in. And we don't have a problem with people tipping them over. So yes, it might happen, once every 2 years or something. Not in the Little League, but I'm saying at our park.
Yeah.
And if it does become a recurring problem, then yeah, we move it. But what I see is when you put it in the grass where people step out, it becomes a wear spot, and then it becomes mud, and then you're tracking mud in the porta. It just becomes disgusting.
Yeah. So
So
we'll continue to talk about it. And
that's why I voted for between the beds in the parking lot. Good wind protection, good car protection, easy access on pavement. But I know it's you guys' decision, but that's just my 2 cents on it.
yeah, I think we have to have this conversation. So
Yeah.
we should
Yeah,
have it out there and have everybody take a look at it.
and then I do not support putting a box around it. I just think they turn into just a mess. They have to be maintained. They don't serve any purpose in the off season, and I think people are used to seeing porta potties at the parks. Everyone has them. All right, thanks.
Okay. Okay, update on the Keene Trail. Dave, you can pitch in if I miss anything. I spoke to Jeff Eastburn today, get an update. He said that the process is quote unquote inching along slowly. It's still within the legal department of Natural Lands Trust. So the township, we are still waiting for an answer. Not sure how much red tape goes on within the trust and whether this gets, punted around between different individuals there, or where it sits on their priority list.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? It sits with Natural Lands Trust? I didn't understand.
In the legal department of Natural Lands Trust, and they are the ones who will give us an answer, make a decision. Basically, Dave, basically
It's a
to
property
whether
line.
whether the property, which property line, it's in dispute. So which property
Yeah, so
line is the proper one?
There's a property line dispute, and the primary issue was while we were exploring these property line, what's the right word, conflicts, the homeowner put the fence line up. And so, we tried in good faith to say, hey, look, the township has some questions. It looks like there's some differences here between the property lines. And so we ended up with the fence posts right down the center of the Keene Trail. So a couple of things that we're going to be working on, and we're considering as far as remedies, but where we're at is the lawyers are talking to the lawyers, and we're trying to get to a point where, okay, we agree, here's where the property lines are. This is where the Keene Trail should be and the easement should be. This is where your fence line should be. And we talked about this at our previous board meeting. Something I learned being involved in township politics is property lines are sometimes negotiable. Different maps exist and they conflict with each other. I've had 2 issues in my neighborhood where property lines were significantly different than what the homeowners thought they were, or what the city or the township thought they were. And usually you just work it out, right? You figure out a remedy. And so that's where we're at here. We're not trying to bulldoze over any residents. We're trying to keep everybody, aware of what the facts are, and we're trying to get all the parties together to come to some sort of mutually agreeable solution. In the meantime, I've asked Jeff to help with how can we at least open up the Keene Trail a little bit more to keep traffic through and let people walk it. Of course, that might raise some questions because of the fence posts, et cetera, but we're doing our best, right? So we're going to try to come to a reasonable solution and maybe find some sort of temporary workaround where people can access the Keene Trail while we're working with the homeowner.
I'd appreciate that. Yeah, I get a lot of questions about it in the neighbors who use it, and if the township could bring in like a mini excavator and just clear a 4 foot wide path, that would suffice for now, and it would be within everyone's judgment of the easement. You know what I mean? Like there is no dispute of that 4 foot width is everyone's okay with that, but
And I think that's
really.
really the plan. We just want to make sure what the weather and availability.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good plan. And I would stress, if you have any questions, and if someone's reaching out to you, Paul, just have them call the office, and Stacy's pretty well aware of what's happening, and she can surprise
I
them.
did.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I don't want to try to represent the township in any way.
Oh no, if you have the answers, you can answer them. But
Nope,
if
nope.
your question, if you have an issue, you have an
Yep.
issue. Yeah. 4 foot wide path.
Okay. The next topic, signs and activities, for crossing for kids. I'm gonna push that off until we get down to new business because it's kind of covered under Don Dowling's update regarding the meadow and the healing garden and things. So we will get to that a little later. And on that same note, we'll discuss the supervisor's comments and public concerns down there too. So next we go to timelines for projects for this year. And I know that we have the trail markers and posts as one of our projects. Paul, I believe you would like our first volunteer day to be vine cutting. And I believe you said that a lot of those vines will require chainsaws and
Yeah,
heavier things than just, heavy duty clippers and that kind of thing.
correct. I'm looking at the agenda, but I got lost where you were. You were signs,
Oh,
engagement,
well,
timelines. Okay, so you're
Yeah,
just
I
going to go to
skipped
the project.
signs and supervisors and now we're on timelines.
All right, so but the trail post markers, I wanted to say something about that. So for Dave, the posts that were put in by the Boy Scout in Franklin, he did the generic colored trails, the 4 colors, but we left off the loops, and so the loops are unidentified. And I was wondering if when we do the next phase, if we could also identify those loops, that would be appreciated. Because when you're walking out there, you see this
You mean
trail
like the
going
red
off.
loop, the orange, the yellow loop? What do you mean the loops?
On
No, on
the other trails, the other
on
colored.
on the
Oh, I
west,
see. The
west
ones that kind of,
side, we
the ones
called
that
it like
kind
a pico loop, and the other one was like,
The sort of
yes.
the horseshoes.
Yeah,
yeah,
yes.
and I had proposed, I'd sent you a sign manufacturer. They were like $3 to get like a little sign made that says Pico Loop,
Oh,
quarter
to make a sign as opposed to the arrows, right?
yeah, and then
Okay.
that way it would let them know that it's a small loop that the user could go off. It's on the map,
Mhm.
but that would let the user know that they could go off and come back with a short loop. And so maybe during the next phase, we'll present that to you all, Dave, to say, I want to
Yeah.
upgrade what the Boy Scout has done.
I
All
mean,
right?
I think we can, let me just talk to Jeff and see if we have a third color. How many colors do we have? 4? How many?
No, I don't.
We have 5.
We have 5 colors
Of
on
the
the
discs.
trails already.
We have 5 colors of the discs, and I believe they are all 5 of those colors are currently used.
I was
But
gonna say, if we have like a gray, if we have like a gray disc, we could
The
add.
gray, yeah, these were supposed to be gray, but Dave, since there's so many little loops and connectors, the agreement was gray would be the non-labeled trails, and meaning, it's not the blue, the red, the green, the big loops. We just had to use a generic gray because we're running out of colors. There's so many little side trails
Yeah,
that
so we want to de-emphasize a lot of the little side trails, right? So like a lot of those connector trails, we might want to de-emphasize. So
no,
we can talk about a
I
color.
understand.
We
But
can
I'm
talk
trying
about
to
a
say that
color, Paul, but if we want to do it easily, I can just pick gray and we can label those 2 loops this weekend.
no,
Yeah.
if I could recommend that we put words on it that say Liam's Loop, and like on the other one, I wanted to say like exit to parking lot. Like at the entrance in the lower parking lot where the boys put the bike stand up, there's a 100-foot trail
Yeah.
there that should be properly labeled to say exit to parking lot. Because
Right.
when you're deep in the woods and not everyone's great with maps and they just see this post that have all these colors, but they just want to get back to their car. And so exit to
Oh,
parking.
yeah, yeah. Exit to parking lot. Those we will
Yeah.
leave.
And so it's things like that.
Okay.
Exit to parking lot, exit to soccer field, and then Liam's Loop or whatever we call it, and Pico Loop. There was just a handful of things like that that would really help upgrade and not just be arrows in the woods. So
Yeah, so we had some discussion about the naming, and people were uncomfortable with the names like Pico, unless calling it the Pico Loop. I don't know if Pico even wants to, but we can call it Loop 1, Loop 2, or we can call it whatever. We'll figure it out. But I agree we should have some sort of signage to label those loops. So
Yeah.
exit to parking lot, exit to field.
no, there's a few exit to field. So one is exit to soccer field.
Yeah.
And we can use that a few times. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Where there's a few exits to the soccer field. And then exit to lower lot is one, and then exit to upper lot or exit to bathrooms or something,
then-
whatever you want to call the upper area.
Sure.
But they're on the map or they're on my sign plan I had submitted maybe a year ago. So if you just want to take it over and run with it, that's fine. But I was suggesting we do it with the other part with the crossing signage, and we'll just add that in as a part of it when we bring it to you all for permission and approval.
Sure. Thank you.
And I understand we don't want to emphasize or in any way encourage people to use the access roads that are still in there. All right, so that's what I want to say about the timelines. And then the next one is your, you said,
Go.
what was your next one? Install more kiosks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dave, we just hold these for a Boy Scout project where we wanted a map, You Are Here map at each parking lot was the idea. So that that's kind of a trailhead for each big parking lot. I think we've talked about this many times, but Bob is in talks with a Boy Scout, so I was hoping he could get a kiosk out of that guy, maybe.
Yeah, so I think that's a good idea. We want to have those kiosks, and then we wanted Boy Scout to put the trail loop markers up. So
He seems less interested in the signs, but maybe we
trail
can
markers,
get,
yeah.
yeah.
The problem is like a kiosk on its own isn't that usually they have to add something. So whether he's not excited or not, like he might just have to suck it up and do it. Like that's the job, man.
Well, we'll let Bob's not here to talk about it, so we'll
I
talk
know.
about that when we see Bob.
I can talk to him offline and see what his
I think-
Boy Scout is, and we can have the Boy Scout come to one of these pro meetings.
Yeah. Bob was just trying to interest him in a project, and I think Bob was leaning toward the porta potty
Enclosure.
box enclosure, and so we were kind of steering him away from that. And it sounds like you
Yeah,
are too. Right.
so I talked to Bob
That's-
last week. Oh, sorry, Kyle.
Oh,
No, I talked to Bob last week. And we hit the pause button. I told him we're hitting the pause button on the enclosure, and because it was getting pretty far down the line as far as the Boy Scout wanting to get involved, and I just said, hey, we're not really sure what we want to do yet, man. I don't want to have this guy go in and do a whole kiosk and an enclosure, and we don't even know where we're going to put a porta potty. So he was good with that, and so we hit the pause button. But there's plenty of stuff to do. We've been talking about, so just if we want, I don't want to derail the conversation. But there's a lot of projects in Crosson that could use a Boy Scout Eagle project. So I think there's no shortage of stuff to do.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I think that was the end of other projects that we have previously discussed. We'll move on to new business.
we were on volunteer days, vine cutting.
No, we're not there yet.
Oh, I thought we got off track. All right.
We did get off track, but
We're getting back on track now.
yeah. Well, now I'm back to new business, the Don Dowling. We kind of jumped down to scout projects, but we'll discuss that in a second too.
Yeah, so Dawn
Um,
couldn't make it tonight. She's got a training that she's doing for.
Yes, yes. So she and I had a long conversation today,
Okay.
and I took a whole lot of notes, so I will try to go through this and anybody can comment at any point. She said that she would very much like to be involved in the projects we discussed with creating signs and activities for kids in the tot lot and creating some kind of education station in the healing garden. She had mentioned that she can envision more signs and things in the corner of the healing garden over toward the little library and the one of the Bluebird Trail signs to educate about plants, flowers, etc. She has a sign that she's going to have laminated that she will post on the dead hedges at Crossan to inform the public about them and what they are and why they are there. And regarding those hedges, she has contacted at least 4 professional landscaping companies or individuals about properly trimming those hedges back. And she is hoping to find a low fee or a no fee donation of these services.
Where are you talking about? The ones that surround the healing garden toward the parking lot or somewhere else?
Yes.
Okay.
And because they are in her words, desperate need of being trimmed back, but by her words and Jeff Eastburn, this is a really delicate job with these particular hedges. This is not something for any of us pro members, FSA, or any other well-meaning lay people to try to attempt.
Okay.
So that will be handled by someone that they all approve. She's working with 3 master gardeners, her garden ladies, as she calls them, for 3 big projects in the garden this year. One of the women will head up the spring, one the summer, and one the fall projects. And when those dates are decided, they would greatly appreciate volunteers. And we're thinking perhaps we can coordinate pro volunteer days to work along with them. And they are planning to add educational components for the public to these projects. The gardeners and Supervisor Dowling would very much like to discover if there are any other master gardeners who live in or close to Franklin Township to see if they would like to help out with any of these or future projects, as it is likely that gardeners need a certain amount of yearly gardening activity to keep their certification, credentials, whatever it may be, up to date. So if you know of anybody, or if there's a way we can sort of post that on the township website.
Yeah, I think that I just took a note. That's easy to do. We can post on our Facebook page and on our website.
Mhm.
Hey, Master Gardeners Wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great call out.
Yeah. The first project for the spring will involve what she called waking up the garden. And in that process, they'll start dividing certain plants that need to be divided in the spring of each year. And this will result in extra plants that can be taken home and planted elsewhere for people who are interested. One of the gardeners also has been speaking to a local Girl Scout troop about the park hosting a stargazing event for the troop. And there's an educator from Mount Cuba who has a telescope to bring, who is interested in this event as well. And it hasn't been completely officially determined yet, but if successful, it could be a template for future and perhaps regular activities like it. And these Girl Scout,
That'd be great.
Mm-hmm. And this Girl Scout troop, now we're going to get to one of the comments above. One of these Girl Scout troops is interested in painting rocks. Well, the same Girl Scout troop, painting rocks to start a rock garden. And there were sort of 2 different ways she mentioned this. potentially creating a 4x4 bed near the little library with a sign for take a rock, leave a rock. And then one of the gardeners has also seen a project elsewhere with rocks where they sort of create a snake, and the rocks just continue to, they keep creating a winding snake that works its way, whether it's through the garden or out, from the education station to somewhere else. Ultimately it could be determined as we go, or there could be a, yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem. Go ahead.
So we've discussed rocks before, and one caution is having rocks near the tot lot can be dangerous because the kids can start tossing them, not knowing that they can hurt each other. So if we do have a painted rock garden, which I'm fine with, I would just want to keep it away from the tot lot so that we don't give him ammunition. So
Okay.
the little library, when you say little library, there's one in the healing garden, so that might be a better area than the library at the mulched area.
Okay.
And then I was also thinking maybe put it down along the paved walkway. We have these little bench areas, there's a gazebo area, there's a bench area, like maybe one of those could be designated as the rock garden because it's already mulched. And then as far as the snake adding, I don't want to cause any additional work for the landscapers because I just picture having to weed whack around a snake of rocks in the grass would be tough, cause extra work, but also the weed whack string would tear up the paint because, it's not like real paint.
Right.
So any snake or any rock garden, I would suggest we limit to a mulched area where we're not adding work for the gardeners or the landscapers.
Okay.
Hey, Heather, I realize you probably, this is all new stuff. It'd be interesting to see how other townships have implemented this stuff,
Right.
right? Because I'm sure it's a kid's activity.
Sure.
Right? So,
I mean, I didn't have time. I just talked to her this afternoon.
no, just something
But-
for the future. Let's look at
Right.
how other townships
Sure.
are, because there might be a creative way to do the snake. There might be a creative way to do the rock garden where the kids have access to it, where they play.
Sure.
So let's just think about it. Let's see
The
what
ones
happens.
I've seen, Dave, are the rocks are already existing around a building or area, and then the
Oh.
kids just started painting them and they put them back at in that already rocky area. But we don't have a rock area that I know of.
No, you could certainly make one. We got a lot of rocks. That's one thing we do not have a shortage of in
Yeah,
in
Mary
Township,
donated a
rocks.
bunch that are in a pile down there.
I've
So
got a bunch in my backyard that are in a pile. So, looking for a home.
well, she donated some nice smooth ones, but unfortunately they're like baseball size, which would make great throwing rocks. So we have to be careful with that.
Yeah, we got to get the big heavy ones.
Yeah. All right, but I like the idea. I think
Yeah. Well, I will, we'll circle back around with Dawn about that, and the gardener who had the idea, who saw it, might have some pictures, and I'm sure we can just, do some online searching for other places and
It might be just
come
a
up with
fun
some ideas
activity.
that are
Yeah,
safe
oh,
and
sorry.
agreeable. That's okay.
It might be a fun activity to do, like the snake idea might be something fun to do at a fall fest. Right.
Mhm.
So like all the kids bring their rocks, or they have a rock painting booth, and they make the snake in real time. And then we, at the end of the day, we pick it up or whatever. That might be something to
Mhm.
think about,
yeah, you could
I like
paint
it.
it right there.
Yep.
Sorry, I was just looking at a text from Bob. He was not able to get in. I didn't ask him whether he was able to watch on YouTube, but he said he gave up and he's going to watch the video tomorrow. So, just taking some notes about
So
Fall Fest idea.
while you're doing that, are you done with the update for the Dawn?
One more. Regarding the meadow specifically, because that's always one of our questions for her. The project is still on hold, waiting for funding. And Jeff Eastburn has been searching diligently for grant opportunities. And he's in the process of scheduling meetings with at least one potential grantor organization, and he may have others that they'll meet with as well. And one final thing, another educational opportunity that she would like to propose is an educational time regarding rain gardens. There's a rain garden outside the Franklin Township building, and she would like to plan an event to teach members of the community, homeowners, the benefits of rain gardens and how to create their own and why, as well as the plus side is that this can help out with required educational activities for MS4 as well, for the township.
Yeah, that's a big piece that we were learning about with MS. Just sorry to take it over again, but
No
one of
problem.
the things that we all learned about as a board when we were talking about MS4 requirements is not only do we have to go and do these stream restoration projects, is a big part of this is community education around stormwater and water conservation, et cetera, et cetera. And so any idea that helps us fulfill that education requirement is a great thing to do. I mean, it's an interesting thing in general just to learn about this stuff, but to have a practical impact across the whole township in terms of our MS4 requirement, it's great. So yeah, good stuff.
So that is something that the pro could certainly get involved with.
Yeah,
to
100%.
help her as well. Okay. Now, bridges. We're kind of hopping around. I know we talked about a little bit above scout projects, but someone had mentioned a certain decorative bridge that sort of went to nowhere in the past, and we thought it might be more beneficial to build some bridges that actually are needed and go somewhere. So I'm looking for specifics. Paul, you might be the one. I think we've discussed it briefly before, but
So
I don't-
I have one that I've mentioned like every year for the last 5 years, and I've showed Dave and four of the supervisors in the field in Banffshire. I cannot mow the trail much further than the parking lot because there's a little tiny stream. It's easy to step over, but I can't get my mower across. Me or the other volunteer who has a mower, neither one of our mowers will cross it. It's just too steep. And your mower goes down in, but then cannot come back out. So the bridge would help people, but it's really to get the mowers across, and then we can mow the rest of the trail. So what happens is we have about a 200 yards of trail that doesn't get mowed. And so this would help with that. And I've been collecting telephone poles. There's 2 in the parking lot now for years, and those are 2. And then I got a third one last fall from a donation. And so I have all 3 telephone poles. And so that is now, that third telephone pole was a long time coming. They're just so hard to get nowadays, especially for free. So I think that could be a good project. And dragging the telephone poles, I'd have to do with a machine, but building the deck and the bridge could be a scout project.
Okay.
And then someone had mentioned a bridge in Franklin Preserve at the lower area where the Red Trail crosses the stream a second time. We have one at the headwaters of the little stream, but at the bottom, someone had mentioned that. I don't, I'm not desperate to have a bridge down there.
So
it's a low priority for me, but sure, if someone wants to build a bridge, I'm fine with
so
it.
so that bridge has been on our radar for a couple of years, or that spot has been on our radar for a couple of years, primarily because it was fine. It's starting to erode quite a bit because people are riding their bikes over it. And so I've noticed over the last probably 4 years of riding through that, that stream bed is starting to erode because bikes are running through it. It's fun. I'm not going to deny that. It is fun to ride
Yeah,
over.
I think.
but
Yeah.
And so we've been talking to Jeff and Matt, who's also a bike rider, about, hey, we should but that's a very small span. And so we might be able to do that with something similar to what we have in other spots in Crossan. It's not a very big span. So we
So-
might not
Like
need,
one of those movable bridges, like the sort of
yeah, I mean,
carry and then
maybe a little bit more robust than that, but we
Uh-huh.
won't need like telephone poles or anything like that to
Uh-huh.
do that bridge.
So
And
for,
yeah, go ahead, Carl.
you have to be careful. By law, we can't touch the stream banks. We have to be outside the banks.
That's right.
And I think we can do that. But we also have to plan for flooding. So what I do is I watch the stream through the seasons.
Yeah.
And if it ever leaves its banks, we have to be prepared for that and have a bridge that'll get out of the way of any flooding and not impede any flooding. So
Well, there's one other complicating factor. And so you're absolutely right. You need something that's robust, that if it, in terms of flooding, the other piece is that's the stream that we've targeted for MS4 restoration. So
yeah.
so we recognize the need for it. We have this idea, okay, it'll be a pretty small bridge, and then there's the asterisk, but we're going to be doing some MS4 stream restoration on that stream. So we may want to hit the pause button for now, and wait until stream restoration is done.
But
So-
your stream restoration is way upstream. It's not in the woods. So they're not really related, but I'm fine with pausing until they.
Well, I want to talk to the engineers before we start putting any hardware into that stream,
Sure.
that entire system, until we know exactly what they want to do.
So I will say that, I'm required to provide engineered stamped drawings whenever I do a bridge. And so I can tell you that we can build a 20-foot bridge with dimensional lumber that a Boy Scout can do. And so that's our standard Boy Scout package. I have the drawings, townships approved it in the past. And so the 20 foot, if we can get that to work, then it's an easy bridge. If you need longer than 20 foot, now you're into telephone poles. So
Right.
what you do is you go out and take a tape measure where you think the bridge will go and see if 20 foot will work. And it's an easy bridge.
So yeah, my gut says a 20-foot should work because it's not a big span. I think you could, I mean, how big is that span? Maybe 7 feet across, 10 feet across.
Well, you have to
But
get
whatever.
outside the banks and then a little
Yeah.
bit more, and then it's always good to elevate it up to stay out of the flood zone. But yeah, I
So-
think it's a fine. I wasn't sure who was driving it. I didn't put in the request for the lower bridge. Maybe it was you, Dave, or maybe it was one of the board members. But it's like I said, I'm fine with it and I'll support it and show them how to do it. But
I think multiple people have,
Okay, so-
if you walk that trail, you cross that water. So
yep.
I'm sure there's several people
So-
who are complaining about it.
One more is Dave, is while we wait for the MS4 work to happen, there is the option to armor the crossing, which is what Matt had done in the beginning.
Mhm.
And maybe that's, it's a temporary solution because after some storms it washes out, but maybe we could ask Matt to put some flat rocks back in and
Mhm.
armor that crossing to prevent any more degradation of the stream.
What do you mean? Can you explain armoring?
So that's a
Rocks.
trail term.
Just
when we
rocks?
put rocks down so that the bikes and walkers are stepping on rocks and they're not touching the water or touching the mud.
Mhm.
Well, I shouldn't say that. The wheels of the bike will go through the water, but the rocks are under the surface of the water so that they're not affecting any mud.
Okay.
So a bike can run through the stream and it doesn't stir up any mud.
Okay.
Dave, back to you on that. Is there like a rough idea on how long this stream restoration project will take for MS4?
At this point, it's still a big question mark. We still are looking for to make sure that the DEP approves the plans, which I believe they have approved. And once we get through, the short answer is no. We're still pretty far out before that stream restoration project starts.
Does this mean like years out?
Maybe a year out, But so that's where I'm thinking I want to talk to. So we might not have to wait those years. I just need, the question mark for me is I need to talk to our engineering firm and say, we want to do something here at this location. If we do, does that impact any of the any of the restoration project that we might be interested in further upstream. That's the question I need to ask. And if they say yes or no, or maybe, that tells us what we can do in that location. So nebulous answer, I am sorry.
That's okay. No, I just meant, I didn't know if we're talking months or years or, just to
I
have
think we can get our answer pretty quick, whether or not whether or not we can do something. It's just but as far as the MS4 permitting goes and what we're actually going to do, that may be years.
Mhm.
So
Get out, please. Love you. Okay, so now we are on to volunteer days. Future. So we had talked about volunteering February, which is now, for vine cutting. Do we want to try to pick a Saturday? Do we want to wait and see how these next couple weeks go with storms coming in and out? And
I think it would probably be
And-
wise to see what happens with all the storms, but I mean, I think Paul knows more specifically what needs done, and he can probably.
because Paul, we had said
You're
That-
muted, Paul.
March would be a good time for repairing tree tubes. But
Yes.
could March be vine cutting and
So
Or
I'm
if I
just
tell
looking
you
at the
2 different
calendar,
days.
sorry.
go ahead?
The-
Yeah.
I can't do the week of the 15th, and this Saturday's sleet and rain and mess, right? So forget that. So then I can't do it the next weekend. So the weekend after that, I'm fine. Maybe we could set a weekend of that, which is set the
Talking like
22nd.
23rd, 22nd, 23rd.
Yeah, 22nd, 23rd. That would be good. And it is best to cut in the winter. So, I've been doing this for, I don't know, each winter the last 10 years, sometimes by myself, sometimes with volunteers. And it comes from, Dave, this is for you. It comes from the Bamshire management plan that we had a botanist lay out for us when we took over Bamshire, when we bought Bamshire.
Okay.
Natural Lands came out and did a study for us. They did a flora and fauna survey and then a management plan. And what it said is the vines that are invasive vines and even native vines that are taking over the trees should be cut to save those trees because the trees are more valuable than the vines, especially invasives. And that the south side of Bamshire near Chesterville Road is a mess. It's overgrown and just lost. And so he said, focus on the vines in the middle and northern part of Bamshire to save that forest first, and then work your way back south. So that's the plan, and that's what I've been doing.
Mhm.
And even I think FSA also went out there one time.
Okay.
And then it takes, but some of the vines are 1, 2, 3 inches thick. So that's why I recommend a chainsaw. You can go out there with shears, but you're wasting your time.
When you cut a vine, clearly the vine that's in the top half of the vine dies. Do you treat the bottom?
No, so that is the best way to do it. Absolutely, you cut it and spray it. But in the winter, the vine isn't active anyway, so I'm not sure your spray will be taken into the vine. But
Okay.
what I find is when I cut it at the ground level and then I cut it at eye level, you leave an air gap. And when you've done that, 90% of the time, it doesn't grow back. You're fine. It's in the shade. It can't survive. If you just cut it and leave the two pieces very close together, new sprouts that might come up, grab the old piece and find their way right back up, and you've lost the battle. So by leaving that air gap, I find I have really good success rate. And as you walk around, I've done it in Crosson Park and I've done it in Bamshire. You walk around, you can see the success where the old vines are hanging there dead and the trees are springing new branches. So it's great.
Good.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think it's the way to go. But yes, if you're doing it in the summer, and you have to carry a bottle of spray and spray it, it just becomes cumbersome. And cutting them in the summer is just so much harder. So I like it in the winter.
Yeah.
And I don't use the spray. But yeah, anyone who wants to use a spray, it's great. That is the right way to do it.
Yeah. So So when we, if you're gonna do, if this is gonna be the focus of the trail day, let's make sure that we get the information that you want volunteers to know up on the website, whether it's Facebook or, well, it'll be up on Facebook and in our township website. Just say whatever the project is. And so, and I'm sure we'll get that up for you guys. When are you planning? So when you talk about the trail days, are you thinking that you're going to establish a regular schedule, like the third weekend of the month is
yeah.
a trail day?
We did
That-
last year.
Yeah,
That
right?
has been
last
the
year I think
intention.
it was the second Saturday.
Mary
of
had,
every
Mary
month.
had set that up where it would be the second.
Second Saturday. So
Saturday.
are we continuing that?
I think we
I think
should.
it's great. I'm gonna, I'll look ahead and I'll talk to Stacy and Jeff and look ahead and make sure there aren't already conflicts on those second Saturdays. But perhaps for this month, we
I
will
feel different.
push to the third Saturday.
Yeah,
The
for
second Saturday is Valentine's Day weekend anyway, and and the weather's probably gonna be bad. So
but Dave, I don't suggest we do trail days until summer, which means like Memorial Day to Labor Day, because there's not enough growth before that to really worry about. And so I look at these couple of items she has on the agenda as kind of a special work day, where
Okay.
I'm not saying we start in February and do every month out from there. But I know that there's two things we need to do. One is cut vines every winter, and one is straighten tubes every spring before the leaves come out. So
Right.
those are two tasks that I've asked us to talk about.
okay. So we have those two that you just discussed that we would like to try to schedule for February, March. And I put on here as part of Dawn's update that she would love to have a volunteer day with that first project for the waking up of the garden thing. She would love for it to be the Saturday before Earth Day or the Saturday after Earth Day. And Earth Day is April 22nd. So again, that's something we can
Okay.
we can look at, see which of those dates has the least amount of conflicts.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have a lot of people traveling for spring break around there, and Easter is somewhere around there too, isn't it? So I think we have to look at those two things on
Probably.
surrounding schedules.
Yeah.
schools
So we'll go through that and, find hopefully a date that will work.
So I don't have any additional topics, but I need to drop off. So I'm sorry I got to do
Okay.
this, but I have to take care of something here at 8
I
o'clock.
think we're almost done anyway. So,
Can we
Right,
pick
and-
a March
Bye,
date
Paul.
while we're here?
March date for the tree tubes.
Yeah, that way we can advertise them both.
Okay.
So if we're gonna do the 22nd of February for the vine trimming or cutting, I mean, should we just follow that and do the third Saturday of March then for the tubes, or at least plan? And if weather, if there's a weather issue, then we'll adjust. But maybe we should just do that. Just plan the 22nd. They're both Saturdays, February, March 22nd, and then at least that gives us a jumping off point. See if there's any conflicts within the township, Heather.
Yeah, that works. It actually ends up being the fourth Saturday in March, but
Oh,
that's
is
okay.
it?
I kind of, because of the first falling on the Saturday, but I liked doing the 22nd of both. And then we can discuss April further, but yes, so let's tentatively, weather permitting, and any other conflicts that arise with the township or something else big, we will tentative plan on February 22 for vines and March 22 for tree tubes. And we may need more time on tree tubes, honestly, because I don't know what kind of shape they're in this year, but judging from some of the times in past years, there are a lot of tree tubes in a lot of locations. So okay. Anyone have any additional topics?
Nope.
I have a couple.
Okay.
I know you are here signs on the agenda. And I went back and looked at the notes in October, we decided to put a 36 by 24 tilt sign at the Y. And not to call you out, but Andrea was getting pricing for that.
Oh, I did not. I didn't get pricing.
I mean, you know.
You said
so-
But I can- but I
what kind of
can.
sign? Did you call it a tilt sign?
Yeah, the at the Y, we wanted a URR sign.
I don't know what a
Yes.
tilt, I don't know what a
The
tilt
You are
sign.
here, just like one of those post. It's like a posted sign that the top, the face of it, what you're looking at sits at an angle.
Oh, like, okay, so like at a lookout point or something like that on it, like, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Kyle, you said I told you I was going to price it 24 by 36. Is that right? I'm right.
We decided on a 36 by 24, yeah.
36 by 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then the farmland, you're gonna do that again this month? These
No.
projects are going on forever. This is 6 months we've been working on the farmland, 5
Yep.
months on the URR here.
Right, and I was
mean, and
I was
then
gonna go back and look at what the board had said before. Dave, while you're here,
Yeah.
I know that you have reiterated multiple times that we need to be very delicate about approaching.
Yeah.
We're letting the board of supervisors take the lead on any,
Yeah.
discussions. Where we stand, Kyle has worked very hard on creating the sign itself. And so perhaps we can present that in 2 weeks at your meeting.
Absolutely. So
Because if we have
so-
approval on what the sign is and looks like, then we can sort of get that off our to-do list.
Yeah, absolutely.
and-
Like we've been, I kind of echo Kyle's frustration. Like you guys decide on a couple of options that you think we should consider and bring it to us, and we'll say yes or like yes, but with some tweaks. And then we'll get it done. And then we can immediately start talking to some of these folks who have preserved lands. Yeah, and again, I don't want to give the impression that it's like I don't want, it's not I don't want the pro involved. That's not what the issue is. It's these folks some of them are very private, and these landowners are very private and have a lot of times have preserved their land based on a relationship they have with folks in the township, specific people, and they're not, So I want to be very sensitive to their privacy and the work that we put into to try and preserve some of that land. So we
Understood.
support the idea. We think it's a great idea. We're just waiting for a couple options for us to say, hey, we like this or we don't like that, and figure out what that shine should look like. And so, yeah, bring it to us.
Okay, well then I will absolutely make sure that,
Yeah.
I had mentioned that I might not be able to present on the 19th. My conflict has since gone away, so I actually can, but if I don't, whoever does present to the Board of Supervisors on the 19th will have those.
Yeah, that
I'll
would be
have those images in your packet for your. for your
Perfect. Yeah, if you can give us, 3, however many options that you guys have come up with that you think we should consider, that would be great.
Okay,
The other thing, Heather, in
Yes.
August, we talked about making subcommittees to get projects done. Like
Mhm.
Dawn did the libraries real quick, and Bob did the sign language sign, and Paul did the kiosk at Banshire. So maybe to move things along, we can do these little subcommittees or have one person work on it and get it done.
I agree. Just to come up with a lead for each project. That works, and I think that's something we can discuss amongst our members and have an idea. We don't have to wait till our next meeting to do that. We can discuss that independently with
Yeah.
each other. That makes any sense. Okay. Okay. I don't have anything else. Does anybody? Our next meeting will be Wednesday, March 5th at 7 p.m.
Looks like someone's trying to get your attention, Heather.
They have been the entire
Let's
time.
say.
I have to say they've been pretty good. Done. No, no. No, you can't. You can introduce yourself another time. So with that, I would like to make a motion to end tonight's meeting.
How about
ahead.
public comment, if anybody has any?
Well, we don't have a members. Oh, Mary, you're technically a member of the comment of the public. Would you like to, any comment? Okay. Since I hear none, I make the motion again to end tonight's meeting at 8:05 p.m. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Good night, everybody.
Good
All
night.
right.
Thanks,
Good
Heather.
night,
Thanks,
Heather. Thank you,
guys.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello,
Dave,
everybody.
Dave, you'll have to shut us down because I don't know how to do it.